It had been an average patrol for the state trooper in Greenville, Wisconsin. He saw nothing out of the ordinary as he was preparing to flip around to go after a speeding vehicle. The video that you're about to watch is what led to a 45-minute traffic stop and arrest. Apparently, not everyone saw or heard his lights, siren, and air horn. Namely, this white Suma Oda. Even after the state trooper had come to a complete stop, the civilian drove straight into his patrol car. Who do you think was at fault for this crash? Let me know in the comments below. The trooper proceeded to pull over the civilian at fault, who turned out to be the off-duty Outagamie County Sheriff, or head of the sheriff's office. The off-duty sheriff was charged with failure to yield to an emergency vehicle and failure to identify, after he refused to provide identification on a traffic stop. This next video comes from Din Nibs as he was driving his Avantismo Armorback Avant eastbound on Main Greenville Drive. A blue Tuscany SUV failed to yield the right of way and pulled straight out into traffic, resulting in a T-bone crash. It doesn't end there, and after he had come to a complete stop, a Falcon Wanderer swerved in an attempt to avoid the crash, but instead ended up plowing right into the side of his car. Law enforcement and emergency medical services arrived on scene and treated Din Nibs for his injuries. His car was found totaled by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and was towed away. The Tuscany driver was found to be at fault for the crash, as they should have waited before pulling out. They had claimed they didn't see him. In this video, Danny, the submitter, had been stopped by a Wisconsin State Patrol trooper. As they were speaking, he witnessed a black vehicle dragging a Suma SUV down the highway. This is definitely not something that you see every day. Nobody was injured, and without proper evidence of what sparked the crash, the case was closed. Our next clip comes from F2LYN. He was driving his white 2020 Elysian Alliance at 55 miles per hour down Main Greenville Drive. He didn't think anything of it as he drove past the 2020 El Grande Immense. Even though he was already well ahead of the SUV, they still managed to merge in front of him, leading to a desync pit maneuver. Luckily for F2, a police car had been following shortly behind them, leading to less than a minute of response time. F2 never sustained any injuries, but the other driver passed away. How? I don't know either. In the end, the Elysian was towed away due to frame damage. Our next submitter, Oddball, was driving his 2021 Falcon Wanderer in Fox Valley going 70 miles per hour, which was 15 over the posted 55 mile per hour speed limit. Even though Oddball was driving with the right of way, an Outagamie County Sheriff's deputy turned right into his path, causing a T-bone collision. Shortly after, another Outagamie deputy responded and arrived on scene. Both Oddball and the deputy were injured, though neither were hospitalized. The deputy was found at fault for the crash, but no administrative action was ever issued by the department. Both vehicles sustained major damage and neither were towed. This clip comes from me. I was stopping on the side of the road beginning a welfare check on a civilian with a popped tire. Just before stepping out of my vehicle, an Outagamie County deputy smashed into the back of my cruiser, twisting it sideways. The impact knocked my vehicle forward, but automatic emergency braking kicked in, keeping my vehicle from plowing into the civilian I'd stopped with. A second Outagamie County deputy was following shortly behind the first and assisted with clearing and maintaining the scene until medical and tow could arrive. My vehicle was no longer roadworthy and had to be transported back to the station via a flatbed. Neither I nor the deputy were hospitalized during the crash. The civilian I'd been checking on wasn't affected, thankfully, and multiple supervisors were notified of the issue, though the deputy was never issued department punishment. This clip comes from Leon, who'd been stopped by Fox Valley Metro Police Department Captain XX Jeff FTW for an unknown reason. As Captain Jeff was walking back to Leon, a vehicle quickly approaching from behind rear-ended the stopped Metro Police patrol vehicle. The patrol vehicle barely moved, but the offending vehicle spun out and came to a stop after smashing into a street pole on the median. The patrol car, offending vehicle, and street pole all sustained damage. Leon's Suma SUV wasn't affected. No major injuries were reported, so it sounds like everyone got out alright. Our next submission is from Space Lava YT, who actually sent us 3 different clips. In his first clip, he was at a scene at a crash and emergency services had not yet arrived. A driver that was going too fast hit him and sent him flying over another vehicle and tumbling into the ground. He obtained injuries, though none were life-threatening. Medical services and law enforcement arrived on scene and dealt with everything accordingly. This is the second clip. He was driving eastbound on Main Greenville Drive at 60 miles per hour when a vehicle came flying out of nowhere, striking him head-on and sending his car spinning into a streetlight. Miraculously, he landed on all 4 wheels. He sustained no major injuries, though we can't say the same for his car. In the end, it was found to be totaled and was taken away by the Department of Transportation. In his third clip, he was preparing to make a turn but misjudged the amount of space he had to pull out, and it resulted in a 3-vehicle crash. He corrected himself when he was in the middle of the road, but still ended up scraping the side of a 2014 Elysian Hobby, and immediately after the Elysian stops, a 2003 Chrysler FT stroller rear-ended their car, which sent them flying into opposite lanes. Thankfully, nobody was driving there at the time. No serious injuries were reported, so I assume everyone got out of the crash with nothing more than a bruise. In this clip, our submitter had made a U-turn by the Fox Bank, but shortly after was overtaken by a 1990 Mazda Laguna. The Mazda proceeded to swerve off the road, miss a street pole by inches, and continue to smash into a BMW fan, sending both of their vehicles spinning off the road. The Mazda blamed the crash on the Chevron Camion that was sitting on the shoulder of the road. In the end, our submitter made the mature move and kept from pressing charges even though his vehicle was disabled and had to be towed. Our final clip is from Suhas, who was driving their Avantismo sedan eastbound on Main Greenville Drive. Less than 20 feet from his vehicle, sedan slammed on the brakes and the SUV directly behind had to swerve to avoid rear-ending the stopped car. In the process, the SUV swerved into Suhas' lane and a collision was missed by mere inches. Shortly after, two more vehicles approached the scene traveling at high rates of speed. The driver in the slow lane swerved to avoid a collision but forgot to check their blind spot and took out another vehicle. This sent both cars spinning away. Thankfully, no vehicles were hit by the spinning vehicles. There were no major injuries, though the Department of Transportation and law enforcement were called to the scene for traffic management. Here's a little bonus. This clip is, once again, from Suhas. They stopped behind a line of state troopers at a stop sign, and a few seconds later, a crash occurred just down the road. All the state troopers turned on their lights and sirens and responded to the crash. Pretty cool sighting. Hopefully you enjoyed this new style of Bad Drivers of OGVRP, and let me know what you think in the comments below. To submit a clip, go down to the description or join my Discord server. And with that, peace.